Ready for more fall fun? In part 2 of our autumn food-shaped coasters, we are making our pumpkin pie and our little turkey, which are perfect for the holiday table. Hello everyone and welcome to Amparo Wonderland. Today we are continuing our cute fall creations. In our last video, we made our pumpkin here and also the apple coaster. This time, we will be creating the pumpkin pie dun, da, 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 and our turkey. Dun, da, 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 da. Oh, and don't worry, if you are new to crochet, these fall coasters are 100% beginner friendly. So, let's stop talking and let's get yarning! Before we begin, we need our materials. We will be using our 5mm crochet hook. We need our darning needle. Of course, we will need our best friends here, the stitch markers. You can never go wrong with having too many stitch markers. Of course, we need our scissors. Make sure that they are nice and sharp because dull ones will not be fun ones. And lastly, for our yarn, what we will need for the pumpkin pie is we need our desert glaze colors from the brand I Love This Yarn. We need the white color for our whipped cream, also from I Love This Yarn. And we need, ignore how it looks because I am running low. I need to make it into a cake. But we are using our light taupe color, which is also from the brand I Love This Yarn. And the colors for the turkey that we will be using, for the base color, we have our brown color here, which is the color named Cinnamon from the brand I Love This Yarn. And then for the feathers, which are different colors, we have the red. We have our desert glaze again. We have our white. We have the green, which is colored dark olive, which is also from I Love This Yarn. We need yellow, also from I Love This Yarn. We need black to embroider the eyes of the turkey. And lastly, we just need a little bit of saffron, which is from the brand Red Heart. So let's get all these yarn skeins off of my table and let's get to doing some crochet. Alright, so we have our color Desert Glaze here, which is going to be our primary color for the pumpkin pie. To start this, we are going to create a magic ring, and that is because we are working in rounds. So that means we are going to put our round counter over here. And for our first round, we are going to start with our magic ring. To do your magic ring, you're going to hold your yarn piece like so. So we have the end down this way and your working side on this side. Now we're going to wrap our yarn around these two fingers, which is our index finger and our middle finger. You're going to wrap it around 2 times with the one that's attached to the yarn. And the second time around, you're going to create an X like this. You're going to grab your hook and you're going to go underneath this first leg of the X. You're going to grab that leg behind it and you're gonna pull it out and then do kind of like a twist, and then you're gonna grab that leg again, which is your working yarn, and you're gonna pull it through that loop that you have on your hook, and you have created your magic ring. Yay! What we're going to do here in our first round is we are going to create 10 double crochets into our magic ring here. To do a double crochet in the magic ring, because we're at the beginning, we're working in the center. Let me go ahead and zoom in here for you, just so you can have a better look at what I'm doing. So to begin, you're going to yarn over, and then that hook, you're going to go into the center of your magic ring. Go ahead and yarn over again, and you're going to pull up your loop. Now you have 3 loops on your hook there. You're going to yarn over again, and you're going to pull that through the first 2 loops that are on your hook here, like so. You're going to yarn over again and go through those back 2 loops, and you have created your first double crochet. Woohoo! We're going to do that 9 more times, so let me show you how to do that again. You're going to yarn over your yarn like that. You're going to go into your magic ring. You're going to yarn over again and pull up a loop. Okay, you've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over again and pull through those first 2 loops. Okay, you got 2 loops left. Yarn over again and pull through those last 2 loops. And you got 2 double crochets now. Da, 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 da. I'll show you one more time just in case. You yarn over, go into the ring. You're going to yarn over and pull up your loop. You yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, so that's a double crochet, and you're going to create that double crochet 7 more times. So at the end of this row, you should have 10 double crochets. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video if you have to, and I will see you at the end of this row. Okay, so we are at the end of our row here. We've got 10 stitches. When you are looking at your stitches, what you can see is that you have little V shapes at the top here, and those are your stitches. Okay, so when we go into row 2, we're gonna go into the stitch right in here, so the hook will have the 2 pieces on top of it, just like so. Okay, so each stitch is worked into like so. Alright, now let's go ahead and close our magic ring. If you know how to close it, go ahead and take care of that. If not, follow along. As you can see, we have our working yarn, which is connected to our skein here. And we have this little one here. Yours might be a little longer or shorter, and that's completely fine. Does not matter, it works either way. Go ahead and grab that piece here, and you're gonna grab the other side where your stitches are with your index finger and your thumb, and your middle finger can be there for support too. Honestly, your whole hand. Okay, so just hold on to your stitches, and you're gonna pull this, and it's gonna close that magic ring. Just pull, 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 pull until it is completely sealed, like that. Okay, so you want to make sure that you count your stitches before you close it, because then you'll have a hard time opening that stitch up again, that ring. Okay, so we are done. We have closed our ring, and now we can go ahead to round 2. We are going to create an increase into each stitch. And to do that, we gotta remove our stitch marker here, grab our working yarn here, and we are going to do 2 double crochets into each stitch, which is an increase. So an increase is when you create 2 stitches into 1 stitch. And in this case, we are creating a double crochet increase. Okay, let me show you how that is done. So you are going to do a regular double crochet into that first stitch there. So it's the same thing that you did for first row. Okay, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You're gonna mark up your first stitch like you did for the first round. And now we're gonna do another double crochet into that same stitch. So go ahead and yarn over and go into that same stitch and create your double crochet. Okay, and that is your first increase. Now we're gonna move into the next stitch here, right there. That's your next stitch. We're gonna do that again. We're gonna create 2 double crochets into that 1 stitch, creating an increase. So you yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, you do that again, a double crochet into that same stitch. Woo, that flew. I'll pick that up after. Okay, go into the next stitch here, and we're going to do another increase, meaning 2 double crochet increases into that same stitch. Okay, so that's stitch right there where you worked into, you're working into it again. Do a double crochet again. Okay, so you're just going to continue following that pattern of doing 2 double crochets into each stitch, meaning you will have 20 stitches in total for this round. So go ahead and pause the video if you have to, and finish your round and come back when you finish up. So I'll see you at the end. Alright, so we've got the end of our round here, and we've got 20 stitches in total, so make sure you count your stitches after every round, especially if you're a beginner. You want to make sure that you have the correct amount, because if not, it's going to be a little lopsided and you're going to not want that for your pumpkin pie. Alright, so let's go ahead and move over to round 3. For round 3, the pattern that we are doing, it is 1 double crochet and then an increase in the next stitch. And you just follow that all the way around. So let me show you really quick. In this first stitch, you're going to do 1 double crochet. And once you finish that double crochet, make sure you mark it up, because if not, you're going to want to kick yourself in the bum. And why, you ask? Because every round ends where it starts. So if you are not counting, or you lose count, you're going to lose where you first started, and then you're not going to know where you are on the round end. You're going to have to frog your piece, unfortunately. Alright, so we did 1 double crochet here, and in our next stitch right here, right after, so we did it right here, we're going to go into the next one on this side. We're going to do an increase, a double crochet increase. So do 2 double crochets into that 1 single stitch, just like so. Okay, so that's 2 double crochets in that 1 stitch, meaning you have an increase, and then the first one was a double crochet, so you've got 3 stitches in total so far. Okay, so let me show you again. We're going to go 1 double crochet in the next stitch here, just 1 double crochet, and then the next stitch you do 2 double crochets, okay, because you're creating an increase. Okay, next one, 1 double crochet. Next stitch is an increase, so you need 2 double crochets into that 1 stitch. Okay, so continue that pattern all the way around, and you're going to have 30 stitches in total. Alright, so we made it to the end of our round here, and we have 30 stitches in total. So let's go ahead and move that round counter to round 4. In round 4, the pattern is that we are creating 1 double crochet, then an increase, and then 1 double crochet again. Let's go ahead and create our first double crochet into that first stitch here, and you're going to mark it up with your best friend. Again, you do not want to forget. That's why they are your best friends, okay? They've always got you back. Go ahead into the next stitch, and we're going to do 2 double crochets into it, because we are doing an increase. Perfect. Now in the next stitch, we do 1 double crochet. Okay, so now we've got 4 stitches so far. Alright, we're going to repeat that pattern again. So do 1 double crochet in that 1 stitch. And then the next stitch you have an increase, a double crochet increase. So 2 double crochets in that 1 stitch. Okay, now the next stitch here, 1 double crochet. Oop. Oop, there you go. Okay, so go ahead and continue that pattern all the way around, and when you finish, you're going to have 40 stitches in total. So go ahead and continue. You can pause the video if you have to, and I will see you at the end of this round. Alright, so we finished our round here for round 4, and we're going to go ahead and move on to round 5. And for round 5, before we continue, what we're going to do is that we're going to fasten off this orange color first. So go ahead and grab your pair of scissors and give yourself a good length here. It doesn't have to be super long, but long enough to weave in at the end. Just like so. And go ahead and do that fasten off. So you just literally just pull it up that way. And do not worry about it coming undone, because you did do that stitch, so it's safe to do so. Go ahead and grab your darning needle here, and we're gonna thread the end of that piece that you just fastened off into your darning needle. We're going to do a seamless color change, but in order to do that, we need to do a seamless join here. Now, to do that, what we're going to do, you see your stitch marker there, right? You're going to skip that stitch, okay? And we're going to go into the next stitch here. And go ahead and bring your needle all the way through. All the way. And you can make it cinch like that, okay? Do not worry if it cinches. It'll go back to its original state. Okay, and now we're gonna go back to our last stitch here, okay, this is the last double crochet we made. As you can see, we have our stitch here, right? But we're not gonna go through there. Instead, we're gonna go through the back loop only. Back loop only, and you're gonna pull it all the way through. Try not to make a knot. Try to go through like that, okay? Just like so. And now you have kind of like a falsy stitch there, okay? So you can mark it up there so that way you don't lose it, because that is considered a stitch there, okay? There you go. So you got yourself a falsy stitch there, seamless stitch, so that way it makes a better circle. Now you can weave in this end first if you prefer, but if not, you can just move on to the next step. Alright, so I've got my light taupe here, and what I'm going to do, and what you're going to do, is that we are going to create a slip knot. So to create a slip knot, you are going to hold your piece like so. So you hold the short end on the side, and then the piece that is actually connected to your yarn skein is going to go there. You're going to twist, and then you're going to grab the little piece there, but at the same time pull the working yarn to create that slip knot. Because if you pull too much of this side, you're going to end up making the knot come undone. Go ahead and grab your hook and just tighten that knot. Okay? And that's your slip knot there. So that is one way of creating it. If you want to see another way to create the slip knot, I do have a card here where it will take you to a short where it guides you on how to create the slip knot in a different manner. What I'm going to do here is that we're going to remove the slip knot and make sure you don't lose it. We're going to go into that stitch here that you had made, the false stitch. I'm going to remove the marker because I kind of made it a little too tight by accident. And you're going to put your hook into that stitch and then grab your slip knot. And now you can tighten it, make sure it stays in there. And we're gonna pull that into the stitch and just create a chain. So a chain is when you yarn over and you pull through the stitch just like so. Okay, so tighten that stitch as much as you can, and that is your first stitch. Okay, that chain one, that is your first stitch of the row. Alright, so now we're gonna create that little shape from the pumpkin. It's called the scalloped stitch, and it's very easy. It's literally just 3 stitches, 3 different stitches that you're gonna make. So the first one, we're going to skip this first stitch here, and we're working into the next stitch. And what we're going to do into that next stitch is that we are creating 4 double crochets. Okay, so do the yarn over. It's the double crochet we've been working on. You yarn over, pull up your loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Make sure that you are using your working yarn. Sometimes you can get confused and use the end. You don't want to use that part. You want to use the working yarn, okay? So go ahead and create another double crochet into that same stitch. And that's your second double crochet, okay? You need 2 more double crochets in that same stitch. Okay, do not move from that stitch yet. Okay, 1 more double crochet. And perfect. Okay, now we're going to skip the next stitch and go into the next one. And in that next one, we're going to create a slip stitch. A slip stitch is just like the chain. So you put your hook into the stitch, you're going to yarn over and pull up that loop, and that loop is going to go right into the back loop of that is on your hook already, like that. Okay, so you got your first little scallop there. Okay, we're going to create another one. You're going to repeat that 10 times. You're going to skip the next stitch and go into the other one. We are going to do 4 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we have our 4 double crochets there. And now we're going to go this stitch right here, we're skipping it, and we're going to go into the next one. And in that next one, we're going to do a slip stitch. So you put your hook in there, you're going to yarn over, pull up the loop, and then that loop goes through the back loops there. Okay, so now you have your second little scallop there. Continue that process all the way around, and then I'll show you what happens at the end. So I'm at the end here, and I wanted to show you before I finish my slip stitch that you want to do your slip stitch into that chain 1 that you had marked up, because that is where it ends. So you're gonna go ahead and go into that chain 1 like this, and then you're gonna do the slip stitch. And what we're gonna do now is that we are going to fasten off. So again, to fasten off, you want to make sure you have yourself a good length, so that way you can weave it in at the end. So snip it off, and then you're going to just pull this loop up like this, all the way to the end, and you are good and done. Good. So now what we gotta do is that we gotta create the little whipped cream at the top here, and that one is very easy. It's just like the scalloped. So go ahead and grab your white yarn and let's get going. Okay, so to begin your whipped cream, this is going to start off with the round 1. So let's change this up, the round counter, because it is considered as a 2-parter piece. So you're going to start by creating your magic ring. I've showed you already, so you can go ahead and rewind the video if you want to, or you can click that card at the top right corner. And now what we're going to do is that we are going to create 6 single crochets into that magic ring there. What you're going to do is that you're going to go into your magic ring first. You're going to yarn over and pull up that loop. And then you're going to yarn over again and pull through those 2 loops. Okay, and that's how you create a single crochet. Just so you are aware, these are all basic stitches that I'm teaching you, and I do have a video that teaches you all of the basic stitches. It's a 2-parter video, so if you're interested, you can go ahead and click the card up here on the right side, or you can find the link in the description box down below. Okay, so single crochet, we're going to create 6 of them. So let's do that again. Go into your magic ring, you're going to yarn over and pull up your loop. You yarn over and pull through those 2 loops on your hook. Okay, so you got 2 single crochets. So go ahead and create 6 single crochets. Okay, so I've got my 6 single crochets here. Make sure you count your stitches. And we're going to close our ring, just like we did with our orange color for the pumpkin, okay? Now what we're going to do is that we're going to row 2. So let's change that, round 2. And in round 2, we are going to do an increase into each stitch. So that means 2 single crochets. Okay, we're working in single crochets. So we're doing 2 single crochets into each stitch. Alright, so we made it to the end of the round here, and we're going to go over to round 3. And in round 3, we're going to create the little squigglies to make it look like a whipped cream. So go ahead and remove that stitch marker. Don't lose sight of your first stitch. What we're going to do is that we're going to do a slip stitch into that first stitch there. So you put your hook in, you yarn over, pull up a loop, and go through that loop on your hook. Okay, and then mark up your stitch. Alright, so that's your first stitch. The second stitch here is that we are going to create 3 half double crochets. Okay, so go ahead and yarn over. I'm showing you how to create it. You go into the stitch, you yarn over and pull up your loop. You've got those 3 loops, right? Instead of going yarn over and pulling through 2, we're gonna yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, so that's 1 half double crochet. Let's do that again. So you yarn over, go into that same stitch, you're going to yarn over and pull up that loop. You got those 3 loops, you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Okay, so do that one more time, yarn over and pull up your loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 stitches. Alright, so now what we're going to do is that we are going to repeat that pattern. So go ahead and create a slip stitch. And now in the next one, we're going to create 3 half double crochets. Perfect. Next one is a slip stitch. And the next one, I'm sure you've guessed it, 3 half double crochets. Okay? So keep going all the way around, and then when you get to the end of your round, please come back and I will show you what you're going to do. Alright, so when you get to your end of the round here, you should have ended with the 3 half double crochets. And what you're going to do is that you're going to remove your stitch marker here and keep in mind of where that stitch is. And what you're going to do is that you're going to do a slip stitch into that stitch there. So that way it kind of closes the whipped cream and you have a perfect little whipped cream flower. It's so cute, I love it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and fasten off this cute whipped cream. Make sure the strand isn't too long, but not too short either, because you are going to be using this to attach your whipped cream. And then you're going to pull that piece up, just like this, and you're good. Alright, so I weaved in my ends here, and what I'm going to do, and what you're going to do, is that we're going to grab our darning needle here, and we're going to grab this long piece, which is the one that is attached to your last stitch that you created. We're going to do that false stitch really quick, so that way it kind of stays in place. So now what we're going to do is that we are going to go and thread this piece through the piece. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. You can skip this part. It is completely fine. And what we're going to do is that I'm going to make this the easy way since I do want to make this beginner friendly. But if you are more advanced, you could literally just sew the whipped cream onto the coaster itself and just do like a superficial attachment so that way you can't see the white in the back side of your coaster. But if you're a beginner, you want to follow along, and I'm going to show you how to attach this whipped cream. Now, what we're going to do is that we want to make sure that our whipped cream is in the middle here, right? Now, go ahead and the one that's already in your darning needle, just put it through a stitch here. That way it can stay in place. Okay, remove that darning needle from that stitch or from that thread, and you're going to grab the other thread. I'm going to put it into that darning needle. That's why it's good to have a long beginning thread, because if not, you're going to have a hard time attaching this stitch on here. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and go into the stitch back here. It doesn't matter which one, and honestly, just make sure it's behind or underneath the whipped cream so you can't see it. Like so, and we're going to go to the back here. And what we're going to do is that we are simply going to tie up our white strands here. That's the easy way. If you want to bring them closer, you can bring them over to the center here. And now we're going to tie it. Like I said, make sure the whipped cream doesn't move and that it stays in the center, because it will look funny if it doesn't stay in the center. Okay? So go ahead and make your double knots like so. And now you whip cream in the middle of your pumpkin pie. Whee! So to end this, you can create another knot if you want, or if you want to solidify the whipped cream a little better, you can literally sew through the whipped cream back and forth, and you don't have to worry because it is white, so you won't be able to see it too much, and it'll just keep it in place better. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, but if you do not want to do that, all you got to do is snip up the ends here. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up a little bit so that way it doesn't move around, so you can see what it looks like. And you now have a pumpkin pie coaster. Yes, it's so cute. I love it. So adorable. So let me show you really quick how to create the turkey coaster. It uses the same exact pattern with a little bit of a twist. So go ahead and grab your brown colored yarn and follow the pattern that you can find in the description box down below, and do rows 1 through 4, and then come back to this video so that way you can see how to work up the turkey details, which is like the feathers and the embroidery of the face. When you finish round 4, come back to this spot of the video and I'll show you what you're going to do next. Alright, so if you are back, that means you have done rows 1 through 4. And now what we're going to do is that we are going to fasten off our cinnamon color. What we're going to do now is that we're going to grab our darning needle here, and we're going to do that that falsie stitch that I showed you before, and then you have your false stitch there. And we're going to start with the red color. You can do whatever colors of feathers that you prefer, and we're going to start here in this stitch, which is the stitch before the falsie stitch. You can start wherever you want, but I did notice that it works best if you work here, so that way that little slant is not noticeable. We're going to do that seamless color change, and to do that you got to do your slip knot. So go ahead and take care of that. Again, if you do not know how to do the slip knot, you can find that card up here. Now, once you do your slip knot, you're going to put your hook into that stitch, which is a stitch before the marker. And you're going to slip your knot. I'm going to tighten it here before I do that. And you're going to slip that knot right through that stitch there. Okay, and then you're going to chain 1. And you're going to tighten it as much as you can. And that chain 1 will become your first stitch. So you want to go ahead and remove that stitch marker. And you can mark it up if you want, but in this case, there's no need because we will not be going around anymore. Alright, so now we've got our stitch here, and what we're going to do is very similar to the scalloped edge that we worked on for the pumpkin pie, but instead of doing 4 double crochets, we're going to be doing 8 double crochet. So the first stitch here, we are going to skip it, and we're going to go into the next stitch here, and we're going to create 8 double crochets. Okay, so that is 8 double crochets in that one stitch. As you can see, it has a little wave thing there, but that's okay because it goes with the pattern. And we're going to skip our next stitch here, so make sure that you do not skip this one because it can get confusing because it can hide. So this is our next stitch here, and we're going to skip it and go into the next one here. But what we're going to do is that we're going to do it with the new color. And the new color that I'll be doing is our Desert Glaze, and we're going to do it exactly what we did with the red one, and we're going to start off by doing the slip knot like that, and then we're going to go into the stitch, go ahead and tighten that piece there, and we're literally just doing a slip stitch just like that. Okay, so you can tighten it a little bit if you want. You can cut your ends if you want. And now we can move on to the next stitch. So we skip the next one and go into the next one there. And we're doing the 8 double crochets. Okay, so we've got our 8 double crochets here, and we're gonna skip our next stitch and go into the next one. But we're going to repeat that process again and switch colors before we do the slip stitch. Continue that pattern of doing the 8 double crochets after the skip, and then before you do your slip knot, you're gonna change the colors. Alright, so I finished my feathers here, and I know that I said that I was gonna show you how to embroider the face on, but I wanted to show you before we move on, you gotta weave in your ends. But as you can see, the feathers are a little bit on the looser end, so I want to show you how to tighten them just to make sure that they don't fall off. So what you're going to do is that you're literally just going to tighten the pieces together like that from the back, and you just tighten it as much as you want, so that way it can be the shape that you want it to be. You can make it as tight or as loose as you wish, and then after you tighten it, you're just going to create a knot, just a regular knot, and you can do it once or twice, whatever you feel comfortable with. I personally like to just do it once. Sometimes I do it twice though, but you just do it once, and then as you can see, it is more on the tighter side. So you're just gonna do that with the rest of your strands where the color switch happened. So you just tighten it, just like that. Okay, so you tighten it as much as you want. So I like to have mine tight, so that way it can have that little shape, but also merge seamlessly with the different color there. And after that, I just tie the knot like so. Just tie it as tight as you want, okay? And then after you do all the tying of the different colors, you're gonna weave in your ends, and you're gonna make sure that you wanna weave them into the color that it is, because if you weave in, for example, this green one into the white, the green will show up in the front of your piece. So you don't wanna have different colors weaving into the front unless that's what you're going for, you know. So go ahead and take care of that, weave in your ends, and then come back, and then I will definitely show you how to embroider the face. And we are ready to create our little face. Go ahead and grab your darning needle, and we're going to use some black yarn. You do not need a super long length of yarn. This is literally just maybe a foot, or not a foot, this is maybe like 12 inches, maybe a little bit more. So what we're going to do is that we are going to thread our yarn into our darning needle here, and you're gonna leave a little length like this so that way it can stay on. And what we're going to do is you can literally make your eye wherever you want, but I did like to place it where I placed it for this one. So what we're going to do is that, as you can see, the middle or the center of our magic ring is right here, and the top of the eye is kind of aligned with it. Not this one so much, but this one is kind of aligned with it, and that means that it is like the stitch below the magic ring there. Okay, so look for your center of the magic ring here, and we're gonna go ahead and put our stitch through this hole here, which is kind of diagonal that way, and just put your thread through the back and you pull it through the front. You want to leave a little short thread. You want to leave one that is like about 2 to 3 inches long, so that way it can stay in place. And then we're going to go across, straight across to the left side, and that creates a line. This will create a straight line. But if you want to have the little U shape, you're gonna go up above just a little bit, just a, like, not even in a stitch, it's just a hint higher. And you want to make sure that when you're pulling through this way, that you keep your hand holding this one, so that way it doesn't come out, because then your whole eye will come out. And now what you're going to do is that you're going to go through here, like underneath the line that you made, and you're going to go back into that same stitch that your thread is coming out of. I keep saying thread, but it's your yarn. And this kind of makes a little knot and then raises it up that way. So the higher you make it, the more of a shape, like a V shape you'll have. So if you put it a little closer to the line, it will have a smaller or a shorter curve to it. Now that we did that eye, we're going to go over to this side and we're going to do the same exact thing. Okay, so we've got our two eyes here, and what we're going to do is that I am going to thread across the back here so I can get my end where the starting end is. And that way it doesn't look too messy, because if you just put it across, it's just going to be a giant knot in the middle. So to avoid that, you want to go and thread across and make sure it's a superficial thread and you're not going through the front of your piece, because then that will look funny in the front. You'll be able to see the black yarn and you don't want to have that done. Okay, so now that it's there, you're going to go ahead and create the knot, and then you are going to fasten it off with your scissors. After you create your knot, don't make it too tight, because then you will cinch up your eyes and you don't want that. So after you do the first one, you can do the second one a little bit tighter. So now we're going to move over with our saffron color from Red Heart. You can use whatever color you want. You can use just the yellow you use for your feather. You can use orange. Whatever color you see fit is what you will be using. So go ahead and thread that needle with your yarn, just like you did with the black. And what we're going to do here is that we are going to create a triangle. So to create your triangle, we are going to go where it depends on where you want to place it. I'm going to place it somewhere right here. So I'm just literally just going to use these 3 stitches over here. So my first stitch over here, you just thread it across and just leave again about 2 to 3 inches of thread there. And then I'm going to go straight across to make the top of the beak. And then I'm going to go down here, center-ish from the back. But see, you don't want that. You want to make sure that it does not create any knots. And again, do not tighten it too much, because then this happens like this. You don't want that tightness. Now we're going to go back up here on the right side. You can go up on the left side, whatever you want. Like that. Go back into that middle section down at the bottom from the back. And then you're going to go up to the left side to finish off your triangle. And then to kind of fill it in, what you're going to do is that you're just going to go in to from the back, you're just going to go in here, the top. You're just going to go down again to the center part. So go up here below the beak. Just like so. It doesn't have to be perfect. As long as you get a few lines in there, then you're good. So I did 2 lines. You can do 3 lines. You can fill it in all the way if you want. But I like mine like this. I think it's cute. Okay, now that we're done with that, we're going to do the same thing and thread our yellow across here in the back to bring it a little closer to the other end so I can create that knot and fasten it off. Perfect. So now we need our little red hangy thing that they have. I really can't remember what that's called. I'm pretty sure I looked it up before, but I don't know. But we're going to use this red color, which is the same red that I used for my feather here. We're going to go into the beak here on the right side from the back. Again, leave about 2 to 3 inches back here, so that way you can tie it up at the end. And what you're going to do is that you're going to go kind of slanted down to the left, or you can, it kind of looks straight up, straight down. And you just go there. And then you're going to go over here diagonally to the right. You can literally just put this wherever you want. and just go back into that piece there, the bottom of the first line. And then what I like to do is that I like to go back to the top here. And then you're gonna go into the bottom piece here and make sure that when it goes through, you keep a hold of it on the left side over here, so that way it stays on the left side. And it kind of creates that join of the two lines, like so. And that's it! Woo! It's so cute. And now you can thread your yarn in the back here, and again, make sure that you make it a shallow, and that when you tie it up, that you don't tie it too tightly. So go ahead and tie up your ends and then cut off the excess. And then, guess what? We are done! We've got our cute little turkey all set. We embroidered. Now you know how to create little U shapes for eyes, and our triangle beak with our little red hangy thingy. I do want to point out that you can actually put it from above the top line. It doesn't make too much a huge difference because you are filling it in. So you can do it from underneath or the top of the yellow line. And we are done! There you go. So now you know how to create your turkey coaster and your pumpkin pie coaster. If you did enjoy this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And also, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if you do enjoy creating crochet patterns, or you are interested in learning, I do have a book for pre-order. It's called Hooked on Designing. It is available for pre-sale now, and you can find the link in the description box down below. If you purchase it now, you will receive a free gift along with the entry for the exclusive community, the Amparo Wonderland crochet community, which, you know, you don't want to miss out. So go ahead and purchase that book, and I will see you in the community. La, 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 la. And as you heard at the beginning of this video, this is part 2 of this coaster series. In the first one, we did our apple and pumpkin coasters. So if you want to go and check it out, the video is on the screen right now just for you, and you can get your free pattern as well. So I will see you there, and if not, that is completely fine. As always, thank you for coming by, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!